Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show with SportsbookReview.com. I'm your host, Lee Martin, joined today by SBR's UFC expert, Dave Manyun and MacMally from MMAonPoint. Today, we're going to discuss the UFC Fight Night with Dominick Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka. But before we get into all that, UFC 261. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we do recap UFC 261, just real quick, give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, that way you never miss a show. Now let's get to it. UFC 261. I'm sorry, but that entire night, I was so speechless. I was like, is this really happening right now? We had Anthony Smith hit a nerve on Jimmy Crute's leg. We had Chris Weidman snap his leg. And then, of course, Rose Namajunas became the new title holder over Weili Zhang. But I want to hear how you guys went, how your bets went on Saturday night. Dave, I'll begin with you for how your Saturday night went for UFC 261.
It was another good week, and arguably one of the greatest UFC events that we've ever seen or may see again. Take away the horrible foot injuries. Who expected Kamaru Usman to come out and floor the striker? This was supposed to be a grappler versus striker matchup, right? And yeah, Usman, he did get the job done over Burns, but who expected that? I didn't see anybody predict that, especially, so early on in the fight. A second round knockout of Kamaru Usman over Jorge Masvidal was something special, but he was setting it up great. He was continuously throwing that left jab, and Jorge was parrying it, continuously throwing it, and Jorge dropped his left, and then boom, straight from the right side. He was not expecting it, and I guess a little bit of karma came back to him because he was in the fetal position a little bit, similar to Ben Askren, and then months of trolling Ben Askren for getting knocked out, and it seems to have came back in the form of karma on Jorge.
Yeah. I don't know. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful event. Everything that happened, even with what happened with Chris Weidman, he recovered from his surgery. He's doing fine now, but I was telling Mac before the show, I'm like, I feel so bad that this happened, but at the same time, this is awesome. This is MMA, man. This is just, I don't know. This was the best event that I've watched in so long, and I feel like I needed it. But Mac, how about you? How did your UFC 261 go?
Well, my picks didn't do so great, but I like to lay built-in excuses. So if I'm wrong, I did say that if Anthony Smith beat Crute, then I wasn't going to be surprised. I also said if Chris Weidman throws a leg kick and Uriah barely checks it and he snaps his leg in half, it's definitely possible. I called that. I don't. That whole, I just, like you said, we were talking before. I'm a very animated dude. I'm always jumping up, get him. I'm screaming, and ever since the Weidman break, it was just one of those, oh my God, fights. I mean, all of them. I mean, the leg break, like you said, it's terrible what happened, but that's part of the sport, You get a TKO win for a reason, you gotta be careful throwing those leg kicks, and I'm sure, like we were saying too, Weidman will come back. Do I think he's going to climb the rankings again? No, but he's going to fight again, probably in 2 years. Depending. I mean, how long did it take Anderson? I think it was 2 years? It's like a year.
2 years.
Yeah, like a year of healing up and then another year get back in shape and all that. I think we'll see him back. And like you said, he had a successful surgery. So hats off to him. I mean, he's tough and no one likes to see that, but people were acting like he died or something, condolences, he broke his leg. He'll be okay. They fixed it. He's going to be okay. He's going to come back. He'll fight again. He's only 36. So he'll be back. Then, that perennial nerve, but that's the Sean O'Malley. That's the Sean O'Malley. Your leg just stopped working. We haven't heard anything about there being extensive damage to his leg after the fight, right? They checked him out. They ran all those scans at the hospital. That's just what happens. You get that nerve kicked and your foot just stops working. I mean, it goes ghost toe. You don't even know what to do with it anymore. And I mean, the whole crowd screaming, and every time he rolled his ankle, it was hats off to him. He's tough as hell, right? He was ready to come back out. He got a takedown after that happened. I mean, obviously, look, I have a lot to talk about from that card. Val, just being Val out there. And then, like you said, Usman. I had said that if the crowd played a factor, or if Kamaru came in to try to prove a point, right, and tried to strike with Jorge, I said that was a possibility. I didn't know, but I would have never said that. I thought that was where Jorge would be successful, and he really didn't have anything going for him. I mean, the fight was only 2 rounds, but that right hand turned him into, a sack of potatoes. Kamaru punched so far through him, his ragdoll body fell on his back. I mean, that was just that whole card, and then the head kick from Rose. It's just, I could talk about UFC 261 for the whole hour. So
for days. But I guess we'll leave it to Twitter. We can talk more about that later, honestly. Because, now this upcoming weekend, we're back at the UFC Apex. It's going to be this Saturday, May 1st. God, we're in May already. Anyway, before we know it, we're going to be at 2022. But anyway, we have UFC Fight Night, Dominick Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka. Let's get into the main card breakdown before we run out of time. So for the first fight, we have women's flyweight, Poliana Botelho versus Luana Carolina. Via Bet Online, Botelho is -261 and Carolina's +221. Dave, I'll begin with you for your breakdown and pick for this first fight.
Yeah, before we get into it, I noticed in this card and through a lot of my picks and research, it's a favorite heavy card for me. Even with these slight favorites, which sometimes can be a bit risky, because they're slight favorites for a reason. But I just see a lot of the favorites winning this weekend, and in terms of underdogs, it is quite slim. So in these matches that are quite tough to predict, like Carolina and Poliana, I can't argue against people taking the underdog, even though I am going to side with Botelho in this one. I just think losses to, Gillian Anderson, Cynthia Calvillo, it's hard to discredit Poliana for that. She's fought a top 10, a top 15. No shame at all. The major problem for this fight is obviously, I think it's just going to be the price for me. I don't think she's worthy of a 220 just yet. And look, Luana's striking is decent. That's where her game lies. It's all in her striking. But the kryptonite for her, it's that grappling, man. And Poliana coming out of nowhere, now with the likes of Aldo, Formiga, Renan Barao. We know she's got a solid team behind her. She's got a slick ground game. And looking at Luana, what was it? Ariana Lipski. It was no problem to get that fight to the ground, and she got a knee bar in round 1. So I understand the odds being like that, but at the same time, me, when that juice starts flying into the 200s, I get real nervous, especially when you're having to put up sometimes 2.5 units just to get 1 unit back. It's a risk. Poliana is the older girl, which could go against that, but she's also the more experienced, and she has fought a much higher level of competition. As soon as Luana was given anyone, and Lipski's, she's not the greatest competition in the world, but as soon as she was given anybody with any sort of name, she failed, and she failed in the first round. So for me, I am going to pick Botelho. It's a hesitant pick, but yeah, I'm going with the girl from Brazil in Botelho this week.
All right. Well, how about you, Mac? What's your breakdown and pick for this first fight?
Well, so yesterday I watched all of Botelho's fights in the UFC, and same with Luana. And I'm with Dave on this one. Like, they're both a little green. Luana definitely more green. And she's got striking. Like, she's a good striker. Look what she did to Priscilla Cachoeira. I mean, but Priscilla Cachoeira just goes in there just. They call her Zombie Girl for a reason, because she gets tagged up while she's trying to run in and get her own offense off. And, like, Luana just kept kicking her in the head. Just kept kicking her. And so she's got skills. But still, she doesn't have a ton of power because she wasn't, but Priscilla is tough as they come. I just think Botelho can win this in all areas. I think there's not much for me to break down this one. I mean, Botelho's only losses were to Jillian Robertson and Cynthia Calvillo. Ground game. You know, she has trouble down there for sure, but Luana's not going to take her down. She threw up some submission attempts and stuff against Cachoeira, but I don't see her as an offensive wrestler or grappler in any way. So I think Botelho is going to be able to bully her. And I think Luana's a little too green. I mean, what's her total? She's 6-2 or 6-1. I don't think she's ready. Botelho's seen it. You know, she had that first round KO. It was like a minute and a half KO over Kano. I mean, I just think, this is one of those ones I'm not going to think too much about. I don't know if it's worth a risky bet, like a heavy bet on it, because you never know. But I think Botelho definitely winning this one. Definitely. I'd be shocked if she didn't. I'm pretty confident. I'm 95% confident Botelho puts a hurting on her. Yeah.
All right, I guess we'll see. So if you guys want to get in on this fight via Bet Online, Botelho is -261 and Carolina is +221. Let's move on to the next fight, and this is going to be a good fight. We have bantamweight Merab Dvalishvili. I always struggle with his name, but it's a great name. Merab Dvalishvili. It's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Merab Dvalishvili. There we go. Versus Cody Stamann. Via Bet Online, Merab is -255 and Stamann is +215. Dave, I'll begin with you for your breakdown and pick for this next fight.
Yeah, I agree with Matt in his point towards the last fight that it is a tough one to break down. There's not really much, input you can really give, but this fight is slightly different, and it is a very interesting fight in my opinion. Cody Stamann, 19-3-1, fighting out of Extreme Couture. And, he began wrestling and boxing in high school. So, he's got them core skill sets that everybody wants. And, amateur record 19-1 before he turned pro. He was only fighting in the Midwest, which isn't exactly the highest level of pro MMA experience. But the impressive records continued. And, the UFC came knocking, 5-2-1 in the UFC so far. And his only losses are to the current champ Aljo and the formal title challenger, Jimmy Rivera. Wrestling and boxing are his two main traits, two of my favorite traits in martial arts. And, the combination between the two styles, it's just Stamann, he has an unorthodox flow to his offense. He mixes it up well with some brutal leg kicks. He's got great combinations. The problem for him is that he's fighting a guy in Dvalishvili who's a monster. And, he's a black belt in judo. And this guy, he began his martial arts journey in a martial art called Chiboba, it's a traditional wrestling style in Georgia. And then he moved to something called Credoli, right? Now, This is a Georgian form of martial arts. And this entails wrestling. So, okay, cool. Boxing, all right. Fencing and archery. Now, the origins of this sport, they would have one man with his hand tied behind his back versus a guy that had both hands free. So if that kind of craziness interests you, go give that a Google search or a DuckDuckGo search and have a laugh at where Merab actually, originated from. But, jokes aside, he's never shied away from his grappling roots at all. You'll see a lot of guys, they'll transition from wrestling to MMA. And when they transition, they kind of, they leave behind what they did before. But, in 2019, he was still signed with the UFC. He came second in the Sambo World Championships. No surprise he lost to a Russian, but it just goes to show that he is about this martial arts life. Sometimes he's not the most entertaining fighter, but boy, can this guy grapple. And a 5-fight winning streak has consisted of takedowns. Not so much top control, but a lot of damn takedowns. It's not too bad on the feet either. In this scrap, I think it's just going to be good old American wrestling versus the madness that is Merab possesses. I just wonder how long is Merab going to spam them takedowns before somebody can grab his neck again like Ricky Simone did all those years ago. And I'm not saying this is going to be Stamann's, blueprint to this fight, because he's not really a submission guy whatsoever. But in my opinion, that's the only way to defeat Merab this weekend. And to add, that decision against Ricky Simone, I'm not sure if anybody remembers, but there was seconds to go. Merab wasn't out, And for some reason, we were going to a decision, and then whilst we were waiting for a decision, Merab's flying the Georgian flag, thinking he's won because he did win the fight. And then all of a sudden, it turned into a submission finish, which was some BS in my opinion. His feet were kicking, the bow went, and I don't know why. For some reason, they decided it was a finish. I mean, there's not much to really break down technical wise. Because Merab, he removes a lot of those possibilities for near enough all of his opponents. And we all know what he's going to do, and he does it really well. Defeating a guy in John Dodson, that was super impressive to me. Dodson, he's got exceptional takedown defense. And without a single takedown in the first round, Merab's cage control and the strikes that he accumulated through that method, that was more than enough. You know, the 5'6" stature on both sides. But the reach is usually favouring Merab because he's got some lanky arms. I think he's going to have a 4 or 5 inch advantage in the reach department this weekend. And, you know, he'll pretend like he's down for a striking battle, and he's pretty good at striking too. He's going to hide behind that jab, avoid reckless exchanges until you leave him that smallest window for a takedown. And he's going to take you down straight away, and he's not going to let go of your body. And if he can't get you down, he's going to hold you against the cage, and he's going to beat you up with, you know, elbows and knees and all of that good stuff. He's nicknamed the Machine for a reason. That cardiovascular system of Merab is relentless. It's like the guy does not even need oxygen in the fight. To describe him, I mean, he's like a mini bantamweight Khabib, the way he holds guys against the fence and just drags them to the ground. I will touch again that his top control has not been the greatest, and, you know, sometimes he does struggle to keep guys on the floor. But when you don't get tired and you can just keep spamming them takedowns, it's a real good skill set to have. And, you know, I say Khabib, but just imagine Khabib and Usman had a little baby boy in Georgia and named him Merab Numaga Usman, because really that's what his output is reminiscent of, in all fairness. So I think, you know, I'm going to pick in this one. Stamann, he was looking drained during his fight against Rivera. For me, that's a bad sign when you fight in Merab. Give me the Georgian to win this weekend. And you know what? I'm seeing prices. You American bettors, you truly are gifted because your books give you much better prices than me. I cannot find Merab anywhere for less than 250 right now, minus 250. And he opened at minus 146, which I loved. I really did love that price. And I didn't think people were going to jump on it so much, but they did. And they hammered the hell out of it. And the public have drove that straight into the 200s. So, you know, at minus 250, I wouldn't advise anybody to bet it, especially with Stamann's background in wrestling and, you know, these incredible judges that we've been having to deal with recently. But, yeah, it's got to be Merab for me. And maybe a parlay piece could be in store for our boy from Georgia.
Yeah, no, I'm with you with that on Dave. With you on that, Dave. Now, Mac, how about you? Do you agree with Dave, or do you have a different pick for this fight?
No, yet again, Dave said everything I had, you know, essentially prepared in my head. So I was gonna make the Khabib thing, and dang it, Dave. Dude, like I'm not comparing him. Like he's like you said, you know, he isn't as good as like Khabib gets you down, you're not getting back up. That's the round. That's the round where a finish is coming. Like you said, Merab, it doesn't always hold the guy down, but it doesn't matter. Gets right back up, and here you're going for a ride again. You know, now you're on your butt again. The dude is relentless. Like you said, I'm just gonna basically re-say everything you said. You know, they call him the Machine for a reason. You know, he only has 2 losses in the UFC. He had a split decision against Sainz in his debut, and then, of course, the Ricky Simone fight, which he was winning, you know, and that was so bizarre. That was one of the weirdest. That's still one of, is it not the latest? It's the latest ever submission because it technically was at 5 minutes of round 3, right?
Yeah, it has to be. You can't get later than that.
It would have to be 4:59. They ruled it a sub at 5 minutes, which makes no sense. Yeah, I remember like the way he was like, you know, doing the pedaling, you know, bike pedaling his feet.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was a weird one. But you know, that should have been another win for Merab, and then he'd only have 1 loss in the UFC. But it doesn't matter because he came back and he hasn't lost since. I don't see him finishing the fight, and Stamann clearly, I would say, has, you know, the advantage in the striking. But I don't think, the two dudes he lost to, Merab's just going to decision him, man. He's a decision machine. They should just change his name to that.
Yeah.
I think it's just, like you said, Stamann was looking tired there at the end of the Rivera fight, and I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I think Merab just takes him down, maybe struggles a little bit in the first round, maybe gets him down. Cody gets right back up, maybe eats a couple hands, maybe not. But Merab, second and third round is just gonna. I think it's just gonna be drop city. He's just gonna be picking him up, dropping him, running at him nonstop, and Cody's gonna be gassed out by the third round. With Merab's pace, Merab is a lock in my opinion. And I don't know if the value's there, like you said, at a minus 250, but at minus 150, that would have been 100%.
Well, do you guys think it'll go to the decision? That's a quick question.
Most likely.
All right. Well, with the Bet Online props, Merab by points is minus 145. More value
Back to
there.
his original opening price, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So he has two knockouts.
Mm-hmm.
When was this? Okay, so that was like Ring of Combat. That was his second fight. And then the fight before he came to the UFC was a KO with a spinning back fist. I haven't seen that. But then he only has one submission. Like, I don't see him knocking out Stamann. And I certainly don't see him knocking out Stamann. And I don't really see him getting a sub. Decision. Yeah, I'll take Merab by decision 100%.
Beautiful. All right, so again, with the props, if you want to take the props, Merab Dvalishvili by points is minus 145, but straight up, he is minus 255, and Cody Stamann is plus 215. But let's move on to the next fight. We have middleweight Sean Strickland versus Krzysztof Jotko. Via Bet Online, Strickland's minus 250 and Jotko's plus 210. Dave, I'll begin with you for your breakdown and pick for this next fight.
Yeah, it's hard not to like Sean Strickland. Again, as I mentioned at the start, I feel like it is a favourite heavy card. Strickland, he doesn't have an elusive background in multiple disciplines like, these long life martial artists have. But what he does have is pure martial arts training since he was a teenager. He began when he was 14 and then turned professional when he was 16. Now, if that's not insane, I don't know what is. The most beautiful story about Sean Strickland is actually seeing him in the cage again. We nearly lost him to a motorcycle accident, and then all these questions arose whether he's going to return and be the same fighter, but he soon shut us all up and bullied Jack Marshman for 3 rounds, and then finished the hot prospect in Brendan Allen in the second round, which was incredible. And that fight versus Allen, I think it really did put him up on a pedestal, which he deserved. He lost all that time through his accident. And then he was putting Allen on notice with his left jab from the get-go. It just seemed to find the mark every single time he threw it. I think Allen, his nose was bloody within the first half a minute, and it just seemed to be getting worse. And Strickland, funnily enough, he got the first takedown against the grappler. So we should pay homage to Strickland's mixed martial arts skill set, and I think he's got a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu too. Strickland's good everywhere. But against Allen, his striking did shine, really. The combinations, beautiful 1-2s. He rarely throws aimless shots, which I really like in a striker. And if I'm going to give him a downfall, it's probably just going to be his lack of defense. He loves to keep his hands a bit low, which is he's always open to counter shots. And he did eat a few from Allen, but it seems as though his chin is just solid. Like, I can't see much taking Sean Strickland out. That solid chin, it's the ability to not fear punches. And we have martial artists and we have guys that are really talented, and then we have fighters, and that's exactly what Sean Strickland is. He's a fighter through and through, and his only career loss via knockout was that nuts spinning hook kick from Zaleski dos Santos. The calmness of Strickland is scary, but his lack of head movement, that's concerning, I guess. But as mentioned, his chin, he just eats up them shots without much backlash from it. Now, Strickland's probably going to need to liven up a bit. As I mentioned, his calmness, like, Jotko is on his feet a lot. Jotko is going to strike at range. He's consistently light on his feet, and I think he's going to refuse to give Strickland a boxing match that Allen kind of got dragged into. Jotko does have the grappling advantage, in my opinion, but I don't see Strickland falling victim without making Jotko eat some shots or reversing position. I do believe that both men will be confident in their striking ability. Now, I wouldn't say Jotko has that Polish power, but his speed and movement could be a problem for Strickland. The difference maker could well be Jotko's questionable chin. We saw Uriah Hall, Brad Tavares, they tested that out and they finished the poll. Jotko, I say he's light on his feet, but rounds 2 and 3, you don't see him bouncing around as much. So I can see Strickland taking over during these rounds, even if he does maybe give up the first. And, I did say Strickland needs to liven up, actually, but I take that back, actually. I'm going to take that back. Be yourself, Sean, because that's what's been working. Remain calm, composed, headhunt for Jotko. And I think he could find the finish once Jotko has overexerted himself, like we see him do, a lot. I didn't like the minus 200 as it is, but now we were losing 50 points. It's at 250. Yeah. It would just be unethical for me to bet that price. It's probably going to be a no bet from me. But, I'm speaking to grown adults. You lot are going to make your own decisions. And if you want my pick, it's going to be Strickland powering through Jotko in significant strikes, if not knocking him out. And that's it.
All right. Well, how about you, Mac? Do you agree with Dave, or do you have a different pick for Strickland versus Jotko?
Again, take a guess. I agree with Dave here. Jotko is really fun to watch. I think he's fun to watch. I mean, he either, he always gives it all. And I don't even follow Dragon Ball Z, but he's got a really cool Dragon Ball Z tattoo on his arm. I've always found that cool. But anyway, because of that tattoo, he's going to win. No, yeah, Strickland, ever since, like you said, it took a spinning heel kick from Easy S, that dude is a murderer. It took that to get Strickland out of there by KO, and can't hold anything against him on there. And then ever since that fight, he's just been on fire. I mean, he's been talking mad. He's like Kevin Holland in there, talking mad crap while he's punching him in the face. It's awesome. So he is super, super fun to watch right now. Dude's like fighting like he's got something to prove. He's out there. He enjoys it. He loves it. And I don't think Jocko's scared to fight or anything. I think he enjoys it, but I don't think he enjoys it as much as Strickland. And I don't see Jotko being able to knock him out. Like you said, maybe some MMA exchanges, some grappling attempts here and there. But I think mostly this is going to be, an at-range, fight. Though I don't know, dude. It looked rough for Jotko there for those 3 fights. David Branston getting knocked out twice in a row. Like, it looked rough, but the dude's a grinder. He came back, and now he's a 3 or 4 fight win streak. Let me see.
3, I think.
Yeah, 3. So Eric Anders on there. That's a good win. Actually, I remember watching that. I couldn't believe he won that. I think Strickland finds his chin. I think Strickland's on fire right now. I think he's just on fire. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think that dude is hungry. He's angry. I don't know. Dude, he gets in there. Listen to what he says. They're gonna have to bleep. What are they playing this on ABC? I hope not, because they're gonna have to bleep out the whole fight. I mean, dude's been talking like Kevin Holland style. I just think I think Strickland's gonna find Jocko's chin, and like you said, he's susceptible to being knocked out. He doesn't have a terrible chin. I mean, but yeah, I'll take Strickland by TKO. That's what I think is gonna happen for sure. I don't know what round, but.
I'm actually going to look that up right now because there has to be a lot of value on it. Yeah, Sean Strickland by KO, TKO is plus 175 in the props. So there's your value right there. But straight up, Strickland is minus 250 and Jotko is plus 210 via BetOnline. Now let's move on to the next one. We have light heavyweight Ian Cutelaba versus Dustin Jacoby. Via BetOnline, Cutelaba is minus 130 and Jacoby is plus 110. Dave, I'll begin with you for your breakdown and pick for this next fight.
Cutelaba, I mean, this guy, we have to remove Ankalaev a bit, I think, because it's kind of overshadowing what Cutelaba is capable of. Now, the funny thing is he comes from a background in judo and sambo, right? He's a national champion. his original roots is Greco-Roman wrestling, and that obviously gave him an edge in those competitions. He's competed across European regionals when he became a professional mixed martial artist in 2012, and then an 11-1 record got him signed to the UFC. But we don't see the wrestling enough. We don't see the grappling enough. That's where he's going to dominate fights. I'm telling you now. Now, these back-to-back losses versus Ankalaev, that is a rough outing. We faded him here on the show both times, and for very good reason. Ankalaev is a freak of nature. The striking awareness was just too much for Cutelaba on both occasions. And you can question, some people question Cutelaba's tactics for those fights, but I do believe that he had no choice. He had to go nuts and maybe grab a cheeky knockout or be at the end of one. And unfortunately, it was the latter for Cutelaba. Now, Jacoby is a big boy, that's for sure. So yeah, the size advantage is going in his favor. I think he's 14-5 right now. Hasn't lost since 2016. 4-fight win streak in martial arts, and then he's got 2 kickboxing wins and a win in boxing too.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw how that can fare for someone like Anthony Pettis last week. When you underestimate these guys, they're active in other disciplines. They're active. It's not just martial arts. They're doing it all. So that is a slight worry. But yeah, straight off the bat, you just know this kid is all about the striking. He left Justin Ledet powerless during his UFC debut. Very impressive. The kid has got skills. I mean, I keep saying kid, but he's certainly grown since that small stint in the UFC back in 2011. It was Starks and Chris Camozzi. They sent him packing. He had his chance. I think he was 21 or 22. They sent him packing. He lost 2 fights back to back. And, you know, it's been 10 years and his skill set has certainly been fine-tuned. Jacoby has got a great right cross, mixes up his kicks nicely. And those calf kicks that we saw him assist in that finish against Ledet in the first round, nasty, absolute nasty. Now, Max Grisham, right, his last fight, didn't exactly take Jacoby down through grappling, but he left a jab on him that put him straight on his ass, and he took his back, struggled to keep him down. Jacoby nearly got finished on 2 occasions in that fight, and I don't like that, especially in a guy like Cutelaba. And we have to be honest here, Jacoby lost to Grisham. He lost that fight. The judges got it wrong, as they do often, and I'm struggling to see the same problems that Grisham had in the grappling for the Greco-Roman wrestler in Cutelaba, if he decides to take that game plan. Now, if I'm the coaches of Cutelaba, I can't remember where he changed, something like Moldova and CSR or something. I'm not sure if he's took a camp up in America or whatever. I'm assuming he may have, considering the pandemic and stuff like that, but I'm not too sure. But the game plan, his coaches, they need to be telling him, you take this one to your roots, because Jacoby is a striker, he's a boxer, a kickboxer, and we know you love to go crazy. Okay, we know you love to do that, but drain your opponent first, at least. If you were going to do that, utilize what you were good at. Now, I'm not sure if Cutelaba may be scared of his cardio draining, or there may be some other reasons why we haven't seen him grapple as much as he should. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like that's the game plan for him to win this fight. And, you know, it's an obvious game plan. And that leads me to my pick. I have to side with Cutelaba and a grappling game plan. The ground and pound that he has is vicious. We've saw him finish guys with elbows and ground and pound. Is a monster. Now, that was removed, like I said, when he fought Ankalaev, because the Russians' takedown defense and ground game is of a very similar level. So he never even had that choice. But Jacoby doesn't have those tools. So for me, it's going to be Cutelaba, and how it's going to end, I'm not sure. I don't know if he's going to finish him or not. I'd expect him to. If he does go with the takedowns, I could see just an absolute ground and pound fest in him, punching Jacoby into next week. And another thing about this, we're getting some nice odds. I'm seeing -130 right now. So I'm not opposed to putting 1.3 units on that to collect a unit at all. I think it's a great spot for Cutelaba to come back. His losing streak, we can't hold that against him. Ankalaev's probably a future champion, if not, title contender at the very least. So it's got to be Cutelaba for me.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the props real quick, and he's favored right now to win inside the distance, but he has a lot of value. Cutelaba inside the distance is plus 105 if you think he can get inside the distance. And yeah, to go the distance, no is minus 300. So the public is looking for a finish. But how about you, Mac? What is your breakdown and pick for this fight?
This is one of those ones, like, it's so hard for me to judge because you don't know what Cutelaba is going to do. The dude is like, well, Jacoby was even saying in an interview just the other day, might have even been, I think it was yesterday. He was saying, what he's looking to exploit on Cutelaba is that Cutelaba fights way too emotional. And then he doesn't have a great gas tank as it is, and he expends so much energy just at the weigh-ins. Like, he used to paint himself green, dude. Like, and it fits. I mean, that dude goes out there and he just wants to bash your face in. And that's what got him in trouble with Ankalaev twice, and like the first one definitely was, I think he was playing goose for sure, dude. He was not, would he have got finished? Most likely. But was he finished? No. He definitely he was playing possum, dude. He was wobbling because he's doing this, and then immediately when the ref calls it, he stops. He was definitely playing possum. But that's a dangerous game to play. It's not necessarily the ref's fault. I can understand it, but it's still a terrible, terrible stop. And then of course they waste, what was it, 2 years trying to get that fight to happen? Like a year and a half? Because they had to reschedule like 3 times. They wasted Ankalaev. He's in his prime right now. I just was kind of mad at the whole situation, especially then the way it played out the second time, like just slept. I mean, he got slept. And Ankalaev, like you said, dude, probably future title contender at minimum. Jacoby being like a, striker for sure. Like you said, he's got boxing, he's got kickboxing, and you said it was 2011, right? When he lost, he got TKO'd, right? Jacoby. Who got him? Yeah, Jacoby.
Oh, King Mo put him out. I think it was probably
Bellator.
2014. I can't remember what year it was, but King Mo's put him out. He's been put out a few times. He's had a few submission losses too.
Yeah.
So essentially, first of all, it's a cool story. In 2011, he fights 2 times in the UFC, loses, gets cut, goes and fight. I think he fought in Titan, Bellator. I think another promotion, whatever. But he comes back on Dana White's Contender Series. He gets another contract. He comes in here, and now he's on a win streak. Like you said, Grissom fight was a little bit sus. But what are you going to do? This one's so hard for me to pick because you don't know what Cutelaba is going to do. If he goes in there and he's just swinging stupid, just trying to take his head off 45 seconds, I don't know. Jacoby doesn't have, like, the most power in the world, but he could snipe him. But I have to lean Cutelaba ultimately, because like you said, I think he has more tools to win ultimately. Whether or not he decides to do that, I don't know. But I ain't touching that one with a bet, if I'm being honest. I just never know with Cutelaba, dude. That guy is he just fights like he's just brutal. I mean, I could see Cutelaba getting a finish, though. I could also kind of see. It just depends on Cutelaba. It depends on how he goes out there and approaches the fight, which I don't know. I have no idea how he's going to approach that fight. Like you said, he should take him down and try to beat him down there, get some ground and pound, smash his face down there, get him down, dude. If I'm his coach, I say, I know you want to beat his face in, but please just take him to the ground and then beat his face in, please. Don't go out there and try to, let's not have an Ankalaev, let's not do that again. Take him down, punch him in the face. That's what you got to do. So I'm going to lean Cutelaba, but that one's a hard one for me. I just don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm definitely not touching this fight. But if you guys do want to get in on this fight via BetOnline, Cutelaba is minus 130 and Jacoby's plus 110. Now it's time for the co-main. Before I get into the co-main, just real quick, guys, for everyone in the chat, if you have any questions for the guys, write it down, and we'll do our best to get those questions answered at the end of the show. But let's move on to the co-main breakdown. And I am looking forward to this fight. I have love for Cub Swanson. He's right up there with OSP for me. But we have featherweight Cub Swanson versus Giga Chikadze via BetOnline. Chikadze's minus 150 and Swanson's plus 130. Dave, I'll begin with you for your breakdown and pick for the co-main.
You had to mention love for Cub Swanson. I mean, look, I was a little tiny Dave in my early teen years watching Cub Swanson in WEC fight Aldo, Chad Mendez, and he did lose them fights, but he's a true veteran of this sport. He really is, and I'll never forget being devastated when I thought he was the next big thing in WEC, and Jens Pulvar choked him out in the first round. So. No, I definitely have a soft spot for Cub Swanson, and it does pain me to fade him, but I'm gonna have to because I haven't been riding Giga, but Giga's been impressing me so much from fight to fight. He comes from a karate kickboxing background. He's a 3rd degree Dan black belt in Goju Ryu karate. Competed in Glory in the featherweight division. Kickboxing record: 38 wins, 6 losses, 22 knockouts. And look. As I said, I'll be the first to admit I've undervalued Giga since his debut. And them first 2 fights for the UFC, they did kind of prove my doubts. Close split decision with Brandon Davis and Jamal Emmers. It wasn't exactly the greatest turnout for another Georgian. But with that said, his previous 3 fights have shown to me some great improvement in performance. Maybe it was the nerves affecting him during them early scraps. Because now is unanimous decision in Erwin Rivera, Omar Morales, and then he knocked out Jamie Simmons during his previous bout, which is not too much to latch on. Jamie Simmons, I think, was a short notice replacement, but it was the Omar Morales fight that got me, the kickboxer versus kickboxer. And look, hands up, I thought Morales had this one, but once again, Giga proved me wrong, and I think it's time to take notice of Giga Chikadze. I really do. That the Jamie Simmons fight, it was a nice drop in competition. Poor Jamie Simmons, he was no match for Giga in that one, and we saw, some great takedown defense, which I think is needed. The reach, his size. I think that knockout was inevitable against a wrestler who's not really that good at wrestling. The nastiest body kick, right, to Jamie Simmons. And then he repeated that kick. And as Jamie Simmons thought it was going to be the same kick, he went up top, straight to his head, set it up perfectly. And again, those horrific echoes of devastating blows, we're going to hear them again in the crowdless Apex Arena. And I think Giga can give us a few more of them. I really do. Now, the opposition for Giga it's finally stepped up. Luckily for him, Cub Swanson is another fighter who is going to give up a lot in size. And Giga has that ideal lankiness for the featherweight division. And really, kickboxers in general, it's that Max Holloway-esque body type. They're long and they're big, but their frame is not too big, where it's going to brutalize them in weight cuts. Now, Cub is a legend of the sport, no doubt, and you can't even complain about his career losses, because Shane Burgos, I say career losses, recent career losses. Yeah. Shane Burgos, Renato Moicano, Frankie Edgar, Brian Ortega. They're some heavy hitters and some expert ground specialists. We can't shit on Cub for that, really, can we? But guess who else is a heavy hitter? Giga Chikadze is. And no disrespect to Shane Burgos, but I think if he can sneak a split decision over Cub Swanson, I think Giga will be able to dominate a unanimous decision should this fight stay on the feet. And knowing Swanson, I think he's smart enough to attempt the grappling fest. I just can't envision that working with Giga's great read on distance control with those long limbs to match. He can fight them underhooks, sprawl the takedown attempts, and keep this fight in his realm, which is a kickboxing match. And I think that's what we're going to see. In Swanson's previous fight against Daniel Pineda, although he won, the leg kicks were there all day long. Giga could do some serious damage with the amount of leg kicks that he has to offer. And with Swanson having overcome leg injuries in the past, I know he went through surgeries and recovery. Give me Giga Chikadze to get his first significant win in the UFC. And have his hand raised. I will say, actually, I don't want Giga to be leg hunting the entire fight. Or he might find himself on the end of, one of them Swanson right-handed bombs, which is always a threat too. I'm not totally discrediting Cub Swanson here. Please don't get me wrong in my breakdown, but I think this is either make or break for Giga. I feel like he wants it more. I think he's at a point in his career where he knows if he gets this win, his boost in the rankings is going to go up, and Cub Swanson's the perfect victim. And we see it in the UFC now. It's totally obvious what they're doing. They feed these legends and people who have names. They're feeding them to these 12-1 guys, 10-2. They're feeding them to these hungry up-and-comers because stock needs boosting. And it's the perfect way to do it. So with a Giga win, he's going to boost his stock, and I do think that he's going to pull through and get the job done. And at what we sitting at -150, you can get it. Yep. I do like that price, just simply based on not how good Cub is, because Cub is damn good, but it's more of Giga and where he's at in his career. It's no disrespect to Cub, but I have to pick Chikadze this weekend for the win.
All right, beautiful. Well, how about you, Mac? What's your breakdown and pick for the co-main?
So, first off, I have a feeling this is going to be a banger. Like, look at the way Cub's been fighting. You know, I doubt it's going to be like Doo-Hoo Choi all over again. I mean, that fight's one of the greatest of all time. But like Dave said, I think Cub might try a little bit of ground game. I don't think he's going to find much success, and so I think he's going to throw all caution out the window, and he's just going to go for a KO. I mean, like the way, that right hand he landed on Pineda was just sick. I will never count out Cub Swanson for sure. But I've actually, you said you weren't really sold on Giga quite yet. I've been pretty high on Giga for a while now. I mean, the dude is nasty on the feet. He loves fighting. He loves it. So does Cub. But and then sometimes, like when these up-and-comers fight someone like Cub, it gets to them, like, oh man, I'm fighting Cub. Maybe that messes with. No, dude, he doesn't strike me as this type of dude at all. Giga is a killer. He wants to go in there and bang. So, like you've seen him before in fights where he's nothing but respectful all the way up to the fight, and then they go to touch gloves, and he won't touch your gloves because it's business time. It's time to fight, with Giga, dude. This is just. I'm with Dave here. I think he wins a kickboxing match all day, and especially, if Cub's not really, really, really trying to get it to the ground, but I don't know if he's going to be able to with how Giga's just fine battling that stuff off. He's tall too, so I got to take Giga, unfortunately, but I'll never count out Cub if he can make this some type of dog fight. Like he's not going to turn Giga into a wrestler. I don't think, he'd have to really hit him hard to make Giga start switching up the game plan. I think Cub needs to go in there and just make this nasty. Get in there and try to make this Doo-Hoo Choi #2, and but I just don't. I think Giga is a little too technical for that. But it's very similar. Like when Doo-Hoo Choi was coming up, he was one of my favorites, Korean Superboy. Everyone was high on this dude. And then look at that fight. Cub said, "Nuh-uh, back down. I'm here for a reason. I've been at the top of this game for a long time for a reason." Maybe we see that. But I think Giga is dude's legit. Like he's certainly legit. And I think, like you said, the UFC likes to feed these, old guys, these up and comers, and see, where do you stand? And if you win, now we have someone we can really sell. I mean, this is co-main event. Everyone knows who Cub Swanson is. Yeah. I'm with Dave. I mean, Dave's always just going to say essentially what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't want to pick. I like Giga, but I love Cub, especially because he trains, he's trained at Jackson's that's right down the road. I just think unless Cub can make it some nasty dogfight, I think Giga is going to be able to point his way or get, maybe a late finish. But, dude, Giga is legit. I'm telling you that now. No matter what happens, this dude's legit, bro. So there's my take. Yeah. So I'll take Giga. Yeah.
Yeah. Giga's actually honestly the reason why I'm most likely not touching this fight, just because I'm so drawn. Because I do love Cub Swanson and I do see the value in him, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't trust.
Bet against people I really like.
Yeah,
it's bad.
It's just hard for me.
Yeah.
But anyway. If you guys do want to get in on this fight, via BetOnline, Chikadze's -150 and Swanson's +130. But let's move on to the main event. We have light heavyweight Dominick Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka. Via BetOnline, Jiri is -124 and Dominick Reyes is +104. Dave, I'll begin with you for your breakdown and pick for the main event.
Boy, here we go again. This is a risky fight. I'm telling you guys now, I'm seeing everyone's confidence in Jiri Prochazka.
Yeah.
Now, former rising light heavyweight champion. He's been obliterating the competition for like a decade prior to his UFC debut. He began with Muay Thai training as a teenager. In fact, he's a national champion in Muay Thai. And then he turned to MMA in 2012. Former risen light heavyweight champion, and he won he was the runner-up in the heavyweight Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. Now, what stands out to me in his fights was the King Mo fight. I wanted to focus on this loss back in 2015 because, to be quite frank, the level of opposition that he's faced has been low. So for how much we can praise him, for how many wins he has and how well he's been doing, he's been fighting a lot of cans. And sure, he slumped Oezdemir, proved his worth, but his takedown defense, I mean, it's poor. And once, he decided to run at King Mo, which is some of the worst fight IQ I've ever saw, by the way, he got slept like a baby on his mother's boobie. He really did. It's been 5 years since that loss. He did avenge that loss. In the rematch against King Mo, he won that fight through longevity. His cardio won that fight. King Mo got outworked, and the TKO stoppage, it weren't really a TKO stoppage per se. It was more of a forget this. I'm tired. King Mo was tired. His footwork left him, and he just wanted to go sleep. That's what King Mo looked like. He looked like he just wanted to go sleep in that second fight. And he became a target that was stood still. And that's not what you want against a guy in Jiri who can strike. Now, fast forward to this UFC debut against Oezdemir. His movement has become more unpredictable than ever in what would seem to most very sloppy, wild, unpredictable. It does seem to get the job done in that way. It's so weird. He lands bombs while the opposition don't even know what's going on. Jiri was in trouble halfway into the first round of that Oezdemir fight. Oezdemir failed to capitalize. He didn't even recognize that he had him wobbled on the feet. And if he did, I think Oezdemir could have finished it. In the second round, Jiri rushed him, caught him. Nothing technical at all about it. Prochazka, this guy, he fights like he's in the streets. And you know what? It works. And respect to him for no follow-up strikes too, because a lot of guys love to get them cheeky follow-up strikes in, even when they can clearly see their opponent's eyes are rolling in their head. Well, I don't stop until the referee stops me.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's BS. That is BS. And every time I hear a fighter talk like that, I think you need to check yourself, because think about if you were in that position and your eyes were rolling in the back of your head, and somebody is pummeling your brain. It's no good. But Jiri, when he flattened Oezdemir, he's very aware. His reactiveness is one of the most beautiful things about him, I think. Now, Dom Reyes, 8 years ago, Dom went from a failed NFL draft. Apparently, he was too slow. I don't know. To training in MMA for no other reason than to vent his frustrations. 4 years later, he's fighting in the UFC. 7 years later, he's fighting John Jones for the light heavyweight strap. And still to this day, people will claim that Reyes won because Reyes did win. Reyes won that fight. He won the first 3 rounds, 100%. In my opinion, Reyes is a remarkable fighter considering his lack of MMA experience, especially compared to his peers. Naturally, he's got a background in football that gave him an athletic advantage. But you'd never know that he wasn't, a lifelong martial artist, and especially when that cage door closes. And for me, it was a loss to the NFL not picking him up in that 2013 draft. They lost a monster on the field. They really did. Now, against John Jones, he was on fire straight off the bat, throwing leg kicks, high kicks, inside leg kicks. He started the first round with a great cross. His ability to fight pressure, that was quite special against a guy in Jones whose entire game is based on moving forward and really putting it on your opponent. And then that left cross, boy, the same left cross that dropped Chris Weidman landed on Jones, and it dropped John Jones too. And I think, MMA fans, the diehard MMA fan, I think we took a breath in that moment when he dropped John Jones. Like, oh, no way is this about to happen. It didn't, because John Jones is a tough SOB. But Reyes is just light on his feet, circling angles before throwing his shots. It was just a great way to set up his strikes in that fight. It's all about his footwork, explosiveness, switching of angles, and then, doubling the strikes of John Jones in round 1. He doubled significant strikes of John Jones in the first round. And like I said, the entire world was thinking, "Oh shit!" I think Reyes exposed John in that fight. And once you put pressure on John Jones, he is nothing but a still target. Reyes was robbed. It's that simple. But as they say, never leave it to the judges and all that. Blah 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 blah. So then he gets Jan Blachowicz, and then you lose to the champion. He gives up his bout. Sorry, you get robbed in a loss to the champion. He gives up the division, and then you get knocked out for the vacant light heavyweight title. That's a rough outing. It really is. But again, Reyes, absolutely menacing shots, but Jan's ability to roll with the punches, move out the way, read Reyes's incoming strikes, it was really top class. The body shots, the bruising on Reyes's ribs, I think that was the key to his downfall. Jan stole all of his confidence in the first round, and deservingly so. I think Jan's just on another level right now. I think he's really believing in himself. And round 2, Reyes let loose, probably a little bit too much, because Jan's 1-2-1 combinations ended with a high kick. Money shots, absolute money shots. I think Reyes ultimately got pissed, dropped the game plan, decided he would strike in the pocket, and he ended up eating one of the nastiest left hooks. Lights out. We got ourselves a new champion. And in this fight this weekend, I'm just struggling to find the value in a guy like Prochazka, who's had one fight in the UFC. He's barely left the first round during his entire career. The rematch with King Mo was the only time in my recent memory where I've saw him reach the third round. Now he's got a 5-rounder against a guy in Reyes who's notably got an awesome gas tank. Jiri wins the same way. He's won all of his contests through an orthodox bum rushing. It's as simple as that. I just don't believe he's going to hurt Reyes enough to rush him without getting caught. Jiri uses a lot of feints. He's got good footwork, same as Reyes, and one of the most unorthodox styles we've probably ever seen from a light heavyweight. Very reminiscent of like Anderson Silva, Stephen Thompson, even Sean O'Malley. But this is a light heavyweight we're talking about. He holds his hands low and then he fires these quick jabs, hooks, uppercuts, awkward angles. But I can't see Reyes falling for that, especially early on, which I feel like Jiri's going to have to be relying on. Underestimating Reyes and that long left jab, I feel that's going to bite a lot of people in the butt. And you can make an argument that Reyes doesn't have the experience of Jiri, and I just don't think that's true in terms of actual high-level experience. Reyes has got a shorter career in terms of fights, but the people he has fought Jiri has not even come close to that. Not at all. And another key point for me is how well Reyes did through his cage control and reversals against a Vincent Preux. If we point out Jiri's flaws, his takedown defense would be one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Refer back to the King Mo fight. He couldn't handle it. And, them NFL style drills, as we know, that could be just all going in favor of Reyes. I would not be surprised if Reyes landed a high kick or a counter hook moving backwards and finished this fight early. But with that said, due to Jiri having such vast striking experience, Reyes' best game plan could be to make this one maybe a little bit of a grappling war, drain that energy of Jiri, and look for a ground and pound situation maybe. But as the underdog, I think this is a dog or pass situation for me. It's gonna have to be the dog or pass, because Jiri is obviously, we've saw Jiri and he's great and all that, but we just haven't saw him do enough yet for me to put my money behind him.
Wild card.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I guess we'll see. But how about you, Mac? Do you have the same breakdown and pick as Dave, or do you have another way of
your official pick's Reyes, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I wish you'd we'd have a different pick for one time, just so it doesn't sound like I'm copying your homework. But
to be fair, I thought you were going to pick Prochazka. I really did, especially after last week when you said, "Oh, it's Prochazka next week." I thought, yeah.
Well, here's what sucks. Okay, I am a giant Ryzen fan, right? Like, I do not ever miss Ryzen, ever. I've watched every single card they've ever put on. I stay up until 5 a.m. I even champ all the way through the intermissions, dude. Like, I love Ryzen, dude. So, like, I'm very familiar with Jiri, obviously. And so, like, I'm just huge on his style. Like, bro, I don't even know how you explain his style. Like, you threw out some names like Silva, Sean O'Malley. Like, I don't even know how. I mean, those are, while accurate, I still don't know if that even does it justice. He's like, he's like a gorilla or something. I don't know what the hell. He has the weirdest style, and he's on a 9 KO win streak, or TKO or KO, 9 in a row. He's just, dude can knock you out. I think he can knock out any lightweight or light heavyweight in the world. But he's got to be able to catch you. That's the difference. I mean, if he hits anyone clean, he can get you. But I think people are writing off Dominick Reyes, dude. And like you said, with experience. So Jiri started in 2012 professionally, and he has 31 fights. And like you said, Reyes started in 2014, and he has, 14. So he has half. He has less than half of the experience. In just a little over 2 years, Jiri's always fighting. So he's active. And like you said, he hasn't fought the same level of competition, but dude, people are writing off Reyes, I think, because he lost twice in a row. Here's what I think happened. I think he went 5 rounds with John Jones, and he was hearing from everyone that, I won that fight. And he was cool about it. Like, he didn't really complain much, but John Jones left that division after that fight. It was like almost too close. It was like, no, we're not risking that again. Reyes was landing that left hand, like you said, dude, he was popping him. I agree. I thought he won the first 3. But it is what it is. I think he took that as like a moral victory. Like, I beat John Jones in most people's eyes. I lasted 5 rounds with him. It's my first loss of my career. And then I think, like, a lot of people were sleeping on Jan, dude. It took Jan. He started the Polish power thing, just knocking people dead. And it's still, like, people are like, well, but you've been in the UFC forever, dude. Like, how come I haven't been impressed with you until now? So I really think Reyes went out there thinking he was just going to wash Blachowicz. Yeah, that title was his. And I think he got surprised. I think he went, oh, no. Blachowicz, as we know right now, is on fire. So I think he ran into a wall there thinking it was, I think he thought he was going to run right through it like it's paper mache, and that was a brick wall, that had Polish power written on it. So it is what it is. Dude can obviously, he can be knocked out. I just don't see, I think Reyes hits him with a left hand right down the pipe in the first 2 rounds and hurts him bad. Because, I mean, in the Jiri versus Uzdemir fight, I remember, I like Volk, but I really like Jiri. And so, like, that first round, I was like, oh, this is crazy fun, but it's not looking good going into that second round. Like, I really did not think. I was like, Volk's going to come back and win this. Dang it. Like, here we go. Classic tale of the dude coming from Ryzen, one of my favorites, but it's just too high level at the UFC. And then he comes out and just, I don't even know. I don't know how to explain this dude, bro. He's like a legendary, like, I don't know. He's like a honey badger or something, dude. Like, I don't know what the hell. But I really did not think he was going to win that fight. I don't think that first round looked so great for him. Like you said, Volk hurt him. If Dom plays this smart and he can stay out of the way, maybe shoot some takedowns, Jiri, I think, will get tired, and I think Reyes bounces back. That's my pick. But if Jiri can knock him out, go Japan, Ryzen. I know he's not from Japan, but you know what I mean. I love me some Japanese MMA, so I'd be okay with it, but I really think Reyes is going to be too much for him. That left hand is what I'm looking at, and like you said, the leg kicks, body kicks from Reyes might help out. I just don't see Jiri. I can't make an argument because I don't even understand how to explain his fighting style. I don't even think
anybody does.
So it's like I can't sit here and go, well, it's because of, you never know what Yuri's gonna do, bro. And did you see his new haircut? He's gone full Mortal Kombat, dude. Like this guy, this guy. So, I mean, maybe next week we're sitting here and we're saying, why didn't we see that coming? Like, this dude's crazy. He knocked out Reyes and who knows? But I think if you're going to make an actual argument, I think it has to be for Reyes. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, Dave always has the more crystal clear, and I'm always sitting here. Have you seen his haircut? But 100%. I think Reyes is too high of a step up in competition. I think people are writing him off because he lost to John Jones and Blachowicz, man. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. And I think Dom is probably taking this one super, super, super seriously. He wants to bounce back because he's right there. If he wins this, he's right there. Maybe one more win, he gets a rematch. I think he's going to come in there ready to win. He's not going to bang with Jiri like Jiri wants him to. I really doubt that. And if Jiri gets too crazy, I think Reyes is going to land one right down the pipe with his left hand. That's my pick.
Yep. Honestly, you guys made me feel much better because I was leaning Reyes and I was like thinking I was crazy. But if you look at Jiri, everyone's all over him because they see the 9 TKO win streak and 7 of those were in the first round. So they're going to be like, oh, here we go. It's going to be an early fight. Jiri has it. But
like CB Dalloway. CB Dalloway, nothing wrong with him. Fabio Maldonado, guys, come on, bro. Come on, guys. Let's be real here. You said with the Muhammad Law, dude, he was that was in the middle of his 5-fight losing streak before he retired. Dude, he had a foot out the door, bro. And then who's a good one? Carl Albrechtsen. That dude's fun to watch in Ryzen. I think he's in Bellator now. But guys, come on. That's all I'm going to say. Reyes. Right. Reyes. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, that's all we have for the main card breakdown. Again, straight up, Jiri is -124 and Dominick Reyes is +104. Just real quick, because we are running out of time, we're going to go over your top prelim. Oh, my God, I can't talk. Top prelim and your lock on the card. And, Dave, I'll begin with you for your top prelim and lock on the card.
I don't know if to go. I mean, look being me, she is juiced, but I think she's juiced for a reason. Tisha Torres made Sam Hughes look like she doesn't even belong in the UFC. Look being me has been a Muay Thai striker since she was born. I think she came out kicking, clinching, and throwing elbows. So, I mean, look being me, she's always a good parlay addition. For something with a bit more value, maybe Gabriel Benitez. He has got some of the best kicks in the game, and he's fighting a guy in Pierce who is really going to have to initiate a wrestling-based style to win this fight. But if Benitez keeps this on the feet, Jonathan Pierce does not stand a chance. And dogs. It's not really many dogs. I mean, Felipe Colares. But Luke Sanders, you never know what you're going to get with him. 1 minute he looks incredible. The next minute he looks like an absolute can. I think TJ Brown is a live dog too. And then, in fact, Andreas Michaladis versus KB Bulla. KB Bulla quit MMA because he was scared of MMA. So he came back and now he's in the UFC. I don't think he's going to last long, this guy. And Michaladis could be another nice little parlay addition. And lock of the card is probably my hardest choice because I don't really see many locks. If I knew that Cutelaba was going to initiate some grappling, I would probably go with Cutelaba. But because I think I'm just going to go with Giga as a lock, just because I think his place and positioning in his career right now is perfect. And Cub Swanson, is been through it all and he's took a whole heap of damage through his career. So I can't see, a lot of that grey matter don't exist no more. And I can see Giga finishing our boy Cub. So yeah, I'll go lock Giga Chikadze.
Beautiful. Well, how about you, Mac? Your top prelim fight and your lock on the card.
For me, it's definitely Loma. Like you said, if you want to see, guys, if you don't know who she is, dude, I mean, if you want to see pure, talented striking, there you go. That's it. Yeah, I think she's going to obliterate Hughes. I think it's going to be bad. So that one for sure, and then I like watching Randa Marcos fight. I mean, she's been around for a long time. I'm a fan, but it's funny. She's in a bad position right here. She better win this one because for the longest time, I used to always joke about, she literally went 12 fights, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. I mean, it was, I wish I would have looked it up. It was 10 fights in a row. And then now she's on a 3-fight losing streak. So, you know, she needs to get a dub. She needs to get a dub here, and I think she will. I think she'll bounce back. Maybe we'll alternate. We'll start doing 3 wins, 3 losses, 3 wins, 3 losses. I don't know, but you know, I like watching her fight. So yeah, and then Benitez, like you said, he's fun too. That should be a fun one. But as far as my lock, I gotta take Merab. I think Cub has too much of a dog in him for me to sit there and say it's a lock. And you know, Cody's no can, but nah. Georgian Khabib by just 30 takedowns is what I'm going to pick there. So
beautiful. And then real quick, we're just going to go through the chat. I just want to give everyone a shout out. Gabriel Katz, my guy Danny, and Kyle, you guys are the best. Thank you for always tuning in. But I saw majority of the questions were what's the best underdog play in this card, because I know a lot of people need it for their parlay pieces. So you guys keep it just very quick and briefly. Dave, do you have an underdog play in this card? Tough one.
I mean, I know people, like, gun to my head, I'm gonna say Reyes, but it's also one of the most riskiest fights to bet. So I mean, God, it's tough. Maybe TJ Brown or Felipe Colares, probably, you know, are less risky than going for that main event Reyes Prochazka fight.
Yeah. Well, how about you, Mac? Very briefly, do you have an underdog play that you're looking at?
I don't know if Dave will like this one, but I'll take Jacoby. I just, you never know with Cutelaba, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't.
And then, like, if Jacoby can, like you said in that interview, if he can get in his head, get him emotional, maybe, I don't know. That's who I'd sprinkle some on. Jacoby for me, right.
I guess we'll see. We'll see next week then. But if we have not answered your questions, then don't worry. Just hit us up on Twitter and we'll answer any questions you guys may have. So definitely give us a follow. You can follow Mac at MacMally MMA. You can follow Dave at DManion_. And then while you're at it, just give SBR a follow at SBR Sports Picks. If you'd like to find more breakdowns and picks regarding anything MMA related, just go to sbrpicks.com/UFC. Now I wish you all the best of luck and I'll see you next week.